good, people? It's your boy N.I.C. coming to you live and direct. I got my main man on the ones and twos, the Human Sports Almanac, recreational sport extraordinaire, the one and only Jason Baum. Yo, Baum, what's good, man? It's been a little bit. We had a week off last week. I know you've done some traveling. I think you went back home, didn't you?
I was back home for a wedding. Shout out my good friends Lauren and Alex on an absolute banger of a wedding up in wine country.
Bro, you go to more weddings of any person than I've ever. I'm going to a wedding, the same wedding as you later this year. You've told me about you going to a wedding, I mean, so many times. And since I've known you, everybody wants Baum at their nuptials.
I mean, man, remote work is quite the perk where you can take advantage of it. But it's also just, good to be home for a week and hang out with fam and, see my sister, hang out with Moose, catch up with some other friends and, do some other things you don't get to normally do.
Moose is his basset hound, for those that don't know. An adorable dog for sure. How old is Moose?
He's 10 and a half almost.
Ooh, I'm not trying to predict anything or anything like that. But how long do those dogs typically live? I've grown up with big dogs, mastiffs, my entire life. They get to 10, you're pretty happy.
This is kind of around that lifespan for basset hounds. But, Yogi, our previous one, lived till he was almost 15, and Moose is pretty healthy at the moment.
There you go.
You just have to load manage him a little bit. he gets one walk. He gets one long walk a day, and that's it.
Yeah. No, I hear that. Yeah, he's the Basset Hounds, man. It's a breed that was bred so specifically to do like one thing that it's so good at it. And then that when you see them out in the wild, like they're not it's a dog that I feel like everybody knows what dog that is when they see it. But you don't see a lot of them in public.
No, it's the best part. I think that's what drew us to Basset Hounds in the first place. Is something that was just so it was against the grain, and fell in love with the breed.
Yeah, I mean, that was always my dad's thing. I mean, he started off when he got a Rottweiler back in the 80s, people didn't know what it was. This is like before those dogs became, popular for just, people to own domestically. They were mostly like, police dogs and things like that over in Germany. And then he started breeding Neapolitan Mastiffs, which then moved to English Mastiffs as well. He bred both of those, but the Neo was always his favorite dog ever. And then he came out here. He had one Neo. I had a second Neo out here. Neos don't deal well with the heat in Arizona. That's a problem. You had to go in the garage. He had a kennel with a doghouse with a AC unit inside the doghouse, like that you would have in your window in your home in your apartment or something like that. And so he had the AC unit, and then he after that, he was like, yeah, the Neos out here, they don't do so well. I need a dog that's more of an inside dog because the Neo's a very sloppy dog. It's not the easiest inside dog to have in the world. And also something that can deal with the heat. So now he has a South African Borbal, which those are basically the South African or the Desert Mastiff. So, he soaks up and loves the heat. But, he's always been on having that exclusive shit for sure, man. But
breeds are great, man.
How many weddings have you gone to in the last 3 years? Just a quick estimate.
Oh, at least 10.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, hey, it's, especially when a lot of them are in Arizona, it gives me a good excuse to come back to see you guys, especially during a little mixed playoff run action, it's always fun, or during the NFL draft, or, there's always, I literally need no excuse to go back to Arizona. Any chance I get to see you guys is great. And, like you said, we're going to be at the same wedding here in about a month and a half. We cleared Chop's bachelor party, and, we're smooth sailing to the big day. But looking forward to seeing Papa Chop at his finest hour.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one, man. There's just going to be a good crew there. Quite a few people that I know, from different parts of Chop's life that I've been a part of throughout my journey with him. But yeah, man, no, that'll be fun. Weddings, some people, they're like, yeah, I'm not coming to your wedding. I don't want to go to a wedding. Listen, it is a big financial commitment. I mean, especially depending on the type of envelope you want to give, if you're in the wedding, or even if you're not and you just have to travel and have accommodations and everything. Like, that's the first thing I thought about when you just said 10. I'm like, damn, my man spent a lot of bread at weddings in these last few years. But
God bless points.
No doubt.
Saved a lot of money.
I hear that. I hear that. But yeah, I love weddings, man. Anybody who I ever hear say they don't like going to weddings, I'm just like, I mean, yeah, the ceremony sucks. Especially I don't know if I've been a groomsman in a Catholic wedding, and you I don't know if this is all of them, but the one I went to, you were required to like spend a large amount of time like kneeling and on like some like wooden like I guess it's a step for, and you just have to kneel on, and there was one point I was also very hungover, and I was like kneeling on that step, and I was like, yo, I mean, there's only so much longer I can do this. And right around that time, the priest wrapped it up, and we were able to get back to our feet and take sacrament or whatever else we had to
I
do.
think I've
But
been to like every kind of wedding under the sun now, and so like I've seen a ceremony that's lasted about 3 minutes, and I've seen ceremonies that have lasted a couple hours. One of my best friends, G, is Sikh, and it was a Sikh wedding, so we were sitting on the ground for a while, but it was a very intimate and meaningful ceremony. Same time, we were just sitting out in the sun in Cabo San Lucas, just getting ready and dealing with it all, and just taking it all in stride. But it's their religion, their customs. It was really cool. It was very different than what you normally see. And then I've seen Jewish weddings that go really fast. You step on the glass and everybody's doing the aura and
Mazel tov, let's go.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I've been to my share. The one I've never been to is I'd love to go to like a traditional Indian wedding. I really
Yeah.
wish that I had a really close like Indian friend where like I want to go to one where like they ride in on the elephant and all that shit. You know what
Dude,
I'm saying?
at Gar's wedding, they did. It was it was on a horse. He was going through the resort, and we're all just like parading down like the hotel
Where was
area with
this?
it.
Where was this?
Cabo. It was
See,
absolutely.
I didn't want to assume. I wasn't sure if
No,
that was
you're good.
Hindu or Sheik or which one. So I figured I would just say the broad term and cover
Yeah.
all of them.
No,
but
you're
I
good.
want to like get tattooed on my henna on my hands and shit, and get that ill outfit that looks mad airy, like where it's almost like a big dress that you're wearing, which is
Yeah,
with the dope pants. You don't even know what the shit's called. And
Dude,
then
we're rocking it, man.
I want to see some motherfuckers on an elephant, and I want to do a choreographed dance. I want to be part of a choreographed dance.
We were part of a choreographed dance at the reception. It was quite a time.
Dude, I need an
So,
Indian friend, man. Yo, I really do. Like I've had a couple people that I grew up that I knew, for sure. I can think of like three or four off the top of my head. My boy Shagar, for sure. But there was like, not anybody that was close enough to go to their wedding. And honestly, at this point, I don't know if I'll ever. At this point, I'll even make any more friends that I'll get
yeah,
that
you never
close
know.
to
I mean, the
at
crazy part is
40.
those weddings are like the entire family goes. There
Of
were
course.
there were like a couple hundred people there.
No,
It
no.
was
Hey, one thing
it
I
was
do know
quite
about
the
that
event.
culture, one thing I do know about that culture, everything that they do, the entire family goes. And the
Yeah,
entire family's involved. From hanging out with them, being in their neighborhoods, and trying to sell them a timeshare. Everybody gets involved when one of them does. And I think that's a beautiful thing about their culture, and a lot of the cultures that assimilate to this
yeah, it's
country
awesome.
that come here and take care of each other. Some others I wish we did more. But anyway, yo, got to start off with a little bit of Mets. Gotta go Mets because the Mets just won in walk-off fashion. They are the benefit of a brutal error. The Brewers' third baseman, I don't know what that dude's name is, but we don't need to know his name. I don't even look it up on him. He just throws the ball. Absolute terrible throw. Moral from the Mets. He is in and he pinch hits. Doesn't have a very good at bat. Should have given up a double play that got them them being the Brewers out of a bases loaded 1-out jam. But the Mets find a way to get another dub. The Mets continue to find a way to give you something to cheer about and to be hopeful for with this season. They, Carson Bench is emerging as one of the best young outfielders, maybe the best arm in the entire MLB at this point, and then also, a real candidate for Rookie of the Year. And I mean, if he stays on the trajectory that he is on thus far, I would argue that he has a real chance of winning it, though I know some people don't agree, namely, my super producer. But I also feel like you're seeing this guy Thornton come in as a pitcher that nobody really was looking to get anything out of this season. And now it feels like this guy is a legit, not just contender, but is he a shoo-in for the rotation next year? He ain't that far off. We're doing all this without Soto. Lindor with the home run. Lindor with a sparkling, running, diving play in the bottom of the ninth after we had given up the tying run. Lindor had given us the lead with the homer early in the game. And Lindor has not had his best year fielding, but he has a great fielding play to save the game in this one. And continues, I think, to show the type of leader that he is. I don't see him going anywhere this offseason. Luis Robert Jr. all of a sudden is just giving you a taste of the overall talent that this guy has, a guy who was top 5 in the MVP voting when he, had just barely cut his teeth in the bigs. And you see the potential with him, but you see everything else, which is that, first of all, he's not that good. He's not the fielder that people act like he was. I honestly agree with Ewing going to center field and being the center fielder and Robert Jr. playing in left field. They've been experimenting with that. It seems like keeping Ewing in left because he's more comfortable there than Robert Jr. is, though they're both comfortable in center, is what they've kind of settled on just here in these last couple of days. I'm not a fan. Keep Ewing out there, get him all the reps at center. He's our center fielder of the future. Robert, you try to get off that contract this year, but he has a $20 million option for next year, which he's definitely going to opt into, and I don't see anybody taking that off of our hands. So you go in next year, and honestly, he might be a $20 million fourth outfielder. That's your hope. I mean, not even might be. Ewing and Benj and Soto are all going to play in front of him. Ewing has been a little bit rough with the bat here recently, but the on-base percentage is still pretty good. And, he plays excellent center field. He had a tough throw today. We've seen so many great throws by these young Mets outfielders here recently that it's tough to you almost get surprised when you see one that's really bad. But Robert Jr. against his old team, the White Sox, who the Mets lose 2 out of 3 to the White Sox over the weekend. Both of those losses being via a walk-off. So that was a tough series. But the Mets continue to fight and be in games. The thing that they didn't do early in the season, where they showed absolutely no fight, where they were quite often just either behind early or late, just not even like getting beat, but like just bungling the game. And now they give you a little bit something to pay attention to. So next year and what that'll be, I've given up on the whole you got to believe there's a chance we could make a playoff run. It's just the numbers, it's not going to happen. Not this year. You dug yourself way too deep of a hole. So Nolan McLean has been not great, but he's definitely continued to show signs of being a future ace. A lot of his numbers when it comes to not just like the spin rate, but also, which is the spin rate's elite. It always has been. But then also like the amount of consecutive games over X amount of innings with X amount of strikeouts. Like he's doing very, very well for the player that he is at the age he is, and you just hope he continues to improve. And I'm glad they're giving us a little bit of fun baseball to watch as the season winds down. This is what we should have started the show with, because everybody, if the Mets didn't just like have a walk-off minutes before we went live, then I would have started with this. This is what every sports show should be starting with, though I purposely caught at least the first few segments of some shows that I rarely watch anymore. And I popped around and watched the internet versions and stuff like that. And it seems like it's being, mentioned as a bit of a side note. I will give ESPN credit. They had an article about it today, giving some more detail to what we found out, which is that Jed York, owner of the San Francisco 49ers, was in a trailer park in Ohio and had agreed to give an undercover cop $160 for some sexual favors. Jed, I have so many questions. I have so many questions. So so now we know a little bit more. So now we know that he online was somehow solicited and then reached out to this person not once, not twice, but then reached out a third time. The first two times, the undercover cop didn't respond to him. If he would have just took it as, hey, man, I got left on red and kept it moving, we wouldn't be talking about him right now. But Jed, my man, you're a billionaire. You have Ohio roots. That's why you're in Ohio. You spend a lot of time there. You're a billionaire. You decide that you want to meet somebody and you'd like to pay for it. We're not going to get into the moralities of that and whether or not you think that's right or wrong. I think that that's, a very individual thing. But we do know it's illegal. And you have unlimited resources. And rather than having like a person, a cleaner, some people would call them, that is the person who, when you want something done that needs discretion or just needs distance from you personally, you reach out to this person and you say, hey, this is what I want done. They take care of it. You have in-person conversations with them. You don't text them, any of these things. I mean, I've seen Ray Donovan before, okay? So you were on your phone on some either I have no idea. I don't know if it's on an app or whatever. But he's communicating with somebody, and they're communicating to the point where they're like setting up. We're going to meet here. It's going to cost this much, and this is what I'm paying for. And he's doing this from like his personal phone when he is a semi-famous multi-billionaire. I can't understand. I mean, we've talked about it on this show before. Shout out to my man Dom for saying it the other day in the chat. The fact that, it's like the person who gets the DUI who, has all the resources and, should never has to drive if they don't want to. And them not driving won't drastically inconvenience their night like it might, or their pockets like it might for, a normal person. And bro, I mean, listen, I can't say I'm an expert in the market for these sort of things. Like I said, I can't, but without being an expert on the overall market, I can tell you this for a fact. 160 is a little light. It shouldn't be billionaire caliber. It can't be billionaire caliber. And the fact that you put yourself in this situation, I mean, if this is what you feel like you must do, there is so many ways to go about it that would be smarter than this. You would think, right? Man, bomb, bro. It's been a tough offseason for a variety of different reasons for your 49ers. I mean, we got the people are getting sick because of the station. What kind of station? What's it called?
The electrical substation.
Substation. I mean, the substation. You got the substation. You got everybody's injured. The head coach.
That's just every other year.
But this year's crazy so far. The head coach.
I mean, last year was terrible. Like, it can't get any worse.
Was it this terrible this early?
Not really this early, but most guys are on their way.
It can't get worse. It can get worse. I hope it doesn't. I
No.
don't wish that upon you. But and then your head coach, and now your owner is out in the middle of a trailer park, paying $160 for an hour. Come on, man, make that shit make sense, bro.
No, it doesn't. It's people get in car accidents, people get injured. I can understand that. This whole thing with Jed York is an absolute, for lack of a better term, shit stain on the Niners. Like this is really bad.
It's the NFL though, so that's the thing. It's the NFL. It's not like he's gonna get removed or anything. They ain't gonna do no shit like that.
No, probably not. There's only 2 things you can't do in the NFL. You can't get in trouble for gambling, and you can't kneel for the anthem. Unfortunately,
Word.
Yeah, I think we got to call that what it is. Do I think there's going to be some sort of supplemental discipline against the league's personal conduct policy? Yeah, a little bit. He'll get suspended for a few.
Yeah, he'll get
probably,
something. He'll get something. He'll get like he'll get an Ursay type. Stay away for a little while.
Yeah, get out for a little bit and come back is probably what will happen. But it's embarrassing. It's a shit stain, and it's tough because I've seen the entirety of Jed York's tenure as CEO for a while now, officially just transferred into being the official owner of the team the last little bit here. But I've seen him at his very worst. I've seen him do an incredible job as once he hired Shanahan and Lynch, step back, just sit there, be a fan of the team and write checks like we all hope our owners would do, and give the Niners pretty much every single resource humanly possible to be successful. But this is just inexcusable. That wipes all of that away, in my opinion. It's obviously a very sensitive and personal matter, but he's one of the 32 most front-facing people in the entire sport. He's one of the most front-facing people in all of sports. And, there is still a standard to uphold, and he did not meet that standard. And we have to call that like it is.
Whew. Yeah. Hey, well said, man. There's not too much to add to that. Oh, man. Jed. Get it together, Jed. Figure it out, bud. Just now you just gotta lay low. Just stay low. As Mike Mad Dog Russo would say, just stay low. He'll listen. Look, we see Kraft is fine. Kraft is fine, and Kraft was and is way more famous than Jed York. And these things, they run their course, and he'll be all right. But that's just crazy, man. It's hard to believe. It's really, really hard to believe just the details of it. Like if you told me.
Do you see what Shannon Sharp said?
No, but I'm mad that I didn't because I'm sure it's hilarious.
This is quite a take. He goes on his show. He goes, "Ain't nothing wrong with that. Come on, man. You think the man, because he's worth $1 billion, he doesn't want to wet his whistle? They the ones that got all the moves. Remember I told you she had more moves than a $100 hooker? Them the ones that got the moves. The 5,000 ones don't do nothing but model. And it doesn't make him no bad brother. The man is human. He a man, and he's still got needs."
I didn't see that. Oh man, listening to you say it, but like imagining him saying it in his voice is hilarious.
It's crazy, right?
But look,
I can't say I agree with it, but
my thing is that I'm not gonna say. I'm gonna say this: whether you agree or disagree personally, I don't think anything that Shannon said is just like, "Oh my God, how could you say such a thing? What do you mean?" Like, no, I mean, there might be some truth to some of the stuff that he said, but at the end of the day, when you do something that's against the law and you get caught, it's noteworthy. Like people are gonna pay it. If you're a very popular, public person, this is something that, is going to be out there. And, however people decide to judge it, I don't know why. Jed York's got so much bread. I mean, he don't give a fuck. It's not like he's like losing his job or like this is really affecting like his day-to-day life, other than like maybe personally between him and his, close family members.
I was saying, yeah, he did file for divorce back in May, and he also did once famously say, "You can't fire an owner." Never forget. But I will say this about state of the Niners in his tenure. There was a time a couple years before I met you. It was it was the end of Harbaugh's time, like 2013, 14. I almost stopped being a fan of the team because of all the arrests and how just out of control it had gotten. It just seemed like they were running rampant, and it just was a crazy thing going on, and it was hard to root for. Then the whole thing with Harbaugh happens. He gets fired. They go through 2 GMs, 2 coaches, and Jed just could not figure it out to save his life. They hire Shanahan and Lynch. There's an early little blip with the whole Reuben Foster situation. But ever since that, this has been an organization that, has been an exemplary franchise off the field. The leaders of the team, the real most front-facing guys, are guys that I would want, if I ever have kids to look up to, I would want my nephew to look up to. They are people that, if I'm speaking to the younger generation, look at Fred Warner, look at George Kittle, look at Brock Purdy. Those are exemplary humans and exemplary players, and they've really done an amazing job of cleaning that up. And, there's a one-off here and there, the whole Brandon Ayuk thing, that guy,
There's every football team has a couple crazy motherfuckers.
Yeah, but I'm saying he's an outlier at this point within that organization. Unlike, the end of the Harbaugh tenure where it's just, just another day that ends in Y. But with this it's really bad. It's an awful stain, and, for a standard that's been upheld by the players and the other guys at this point, it's very disappointing and embarrassing.
I hear you. I don't know. I think kind of like Harbaugh. I mean, I'm sorry, not Harbaugh. I think kind of like Shanahan said, like, this doesn't affect the team. I don't think it affects the team and the players at all. If you're a fan and you disagree with it and you feel like it's really rough, then I mean, yeah, you're entitled to that opinion for sure.
No, definitely doesn't affect players. It shouldn't affect players at all in their performance.
They all think just like Shannon Sharp, and there's a whole lot of people out there who think just like Shannon Sharp. And
probably.
Like, hey, there's a whole lot of people who are like, what? That don't even believe that such a thing should be illegal. A lot of other countries don't believe that such a thing is illegal. Some people would say it's the oldest trade, the oldest, thing that's ever been bartered in the history of humanity. Whatever. However you feel about that, you can't be stupid enough to like Jed York to get fucking caught up with this shit. And that the one thing that I will say that Shannon says that's egregious is the whole like, oh well, they the ones that know all the tricks. Basically saying that like you get a cheap one because they're the best at it. First of all, Shannon just made it super clear that he has run the gamut of hoes. Like he's messed with the low budget ones, the high budget ones, and everything in between. He's made that super clear. I don't know why you would want to come out and be so forthright with your business, Shay. But also, the other thing is, like, I'm sorry, man, like, with paying more, you would seem like you would be more insulated from getting in some sort of, situation like this. And again, there's no reason, no matter who you're dealing with, no matter what you're doing, there's no reason for him personally to be, figuring this out and making this transaction. That's ridiculous. That's absurd. I don't understand how, if you're a famous person and you have all of the abilities and resources to be able to separate yourself from something like that, why you wouldn't do it. I don't get it. I'll never understand that. Yo, man. Enes Kanter. I'm not calling him by this other name that he calls himself. Okay. His mama call him Kanter. I'm gonna call him Kanter. But he goes to a Chicago Sky game. Natasha Cloud, he's standing underneath sitting underneath the basket, a shirt that is, basically is like woman and then the definition noun, all the whole thing. And he's standing up, he's gesturing. Natasha Cloud hits a shot. She starts strongly gesturing and yelling and going towards him. He gets up and tries to step forward as if he's stepping towards the court. gets tossed out of the game, and he is now banned from ever attending a Chicago Sky game again. And I think he's ridiculous. I think I've talked about that enough. Like, I just think he's ridiculous. I think he's trying his best to, be relevant when he's not anymore. He was a mediocre NBA player. If you don't think that's sitting right underneath the basket when you're 6'10" and, standing up with your arms like this and, yelling and shit, if you don't think that that's going to get you attention, I mean, clearly that's exactly what he's looking for. And that's what he got. And he doesn't care about not being able to go to a Chicago Sky game. He never gave a fuck about the Chicago Sky or the WNBA in the first place. He only does now because it's a way for him to chase some clout and be and be spoken of. I'm telling you, man, I'm really asking you this seriously. When I saw that, I really thought to myself, like, this is the WWE. Like, this is, a person who's famous making an appearance. I mean, I see it happen all the time with a guy like Andrew Schultz, who's like a fucking comedian. He goes to Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton, like, somebody who is, a lot of times they do athletes, but just somebody who's famous, who's into it or whatever, being there, them getting into some sort of beef with somebody out there. And then now all of a sudden, that person is getting kicked out, or, if it was WWE that it came out and actually fought on the court. But then also, like, I started thinking about how that was so WWE, and I'm like, yo, all this like racial beef, that's wrestling 101. You go back to the fucking 50s and 60s, and I know definitely in the 70s and 80s, and especially in the late 80s and 90s when I was really into it, there was always some sort of like racial thing going on, from like, Yokozuna and all those guys back then, the Iron Sheik, and then all the way up through like the Nation of Domination, which was like like there was always like racial wrestling. It preys on like our most like carnal things and like accentuates them, and that's what they do well. And I see like, just like, okay, so now we got chicks being clotheslined. There's this whole racial component with the Great White Hope being painted as such. To a certain extent. Now, actually, you know what? Not by a lot of real basketball fans, but by like conservative grifters who don't care about the league at all, but just want to latch on to something and have a talking point. The fucking Whitlocks of the world. But exactly. you have people that do that, and then you have the fans. It's now getting a whole lot of attention. And I would have never said this a week or two ago, but I'm starting to wonder, is the WNBA trolling us? Have they just figured out that, like, no matter how good we are, we're not going to get that much attention to the game? We have one of the best rookies that we've ever seen this year. We have Asia Wilson.
Olivia Miles is insane.
Olivia Miles is insane. Paige Beckers is insane. We know about Caitlin Clark. Asia Wilson is like the best baby player we've ever seen since like people talking about like Cheryl Miller type shit. And no one cares. But when you get, Enes Cantor out there yelling, and you get, Caitlin Clark being clotheslined, and her versus Angel Reese, and all the black lesbians versus the sweet little white girls, and that kind of like, I'm like, are they trolling us? Are they trolling us?
And I also would say this is about Caitlin Clark, and that's not the real rivalry now. It's Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers. Like they played last week, and Paige was giving it to Caitlin. Like
I like Becker's game more.
I've been a Paige guy for a while, and I saw Paige. I mean, they have a friendship, but Paige got the dog in her, and
for sure.
Yeah, she was giving it to Caitlin. She's like, "Oh, stop it, spare me," those sort of things. She was having a field while Caitlin Clark was going off with the refs.
Right.
Yeah, that's more. Look, teams have been physical with Caitlin Clark since she got in the league. They've tried to make her life, because that's how you have to. It's like you said, when dealing with Steph, you have to get handsy and physical with them to shut them down.
Yeah,
a player
people
like that
acting
down.
like it's because like she's a straight
No,
little white girl. It's like, no,
no,
dog,
they're
it's
trying to win a
because
fucking
she's
game.
fucking little and she's a shooter, and that's what you do is you rough them up. I mean, they've been saying they fucking I watch kids
They're
try
trying
to
to win
do
a
it at
game.
like 9, 10 years old. When you start busting their ass, especially when you're the more skilled one, even if you're not little and a shooter, when you start busting somebody's ass, typically what they typically do is they resort to start trying to foul.
Mm-hmm. And if they're going to not call it, then they're going to keep getting away with it until they start calling it. Does the league need to do a better job of marketing her and maybe protecting her a little bit more, give her some more calls? Probably. There's a lot of things with her that go uncalled that I'd like to see Steph Curry get calls on in the NBA. In terms of the agenda part, I mean, I wouldn't say they're trolling.
It might be the greatest troll job of all time. It might be the
It could
greatest
be.
marketing ploy of all time.
It could, but I just think Enes Kanter's behavior is pathetic. I think it's loser behavior. It's absolutely pathetic. He needs to grow all the way up. Sorry, I'm a little fired up on this one. Just like, it's just pathetic. Like, do you not have anything better to do with your time? And you're right, though. It is a lot of the right-wing grifters who haven't watched maybe 5 minutes, who just, have something that they can pick their agenda on and want to get it out to the world and make a big deal out of it because they know people will jump up there. And it's really annoying for people who watch the game. I have friends who are season ticket holders to the Mouts, the Fire, and who watch games religiously, and we talk about it. And, it's guys like him rooting it for them. And that sucks.
It
that
does.
Really sucks. And it's like you said, there's some really good players in this league.
Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, though, what is most important is that they get eyeballs. And if they get a little bit more eyeballs because of the controversy and then people stay for the basketball, overall, that is a win for the WNBA. I hope that we find out at some point that we are seeing exactly that, which is like the greatest marketing strategy / troll job ever by the WNBA and its players. That would be great. And listen, man, it's only going to get, you got Juju coming soon. I've never been a huge I like women's college hoops, especially kind of like back in the day. Like I really like that whole Tennessee UConn era. You know what I mean? That Pat Summitt and Gino on the come up type shit. And you had a couple girls, Shamika Holsclaw specifically, who out of New York, like, I heard about her from the time she was much younger. So by the time she got to Tennessee and everything was like, yo, we gotta see what this girl's gonna do. And so I haven't really been into it since then. And this year, I realized that I have seen more basketball this year that I feel like is good basketball. And there's there's no way to not say this, okay? But I'm to say it in a way that is, if it offends you, then I'm sorry. But there's a whole lot less players who shoot like a girl now. Like Paige Beckers, the way she stops and pulls up. There's a whole lot more players who are shooting the ball in a traditional manner up here, not, pushing it, everything like that. And like, that's something that is just a general progression. And that's just because of the general progression of humans. That just always happens no matter what. There will be a time where girls in the WNBA or women in the WNBA are, crossing people over, going down the lane and banging on people. Like, that's going to happen before too long. That's just as humans continue to do things, they progress at them and they get better. We're the most versatile animal on the planet. That's one thing. A little anthropology for you. I think this would be anthropology. I don't know about that, but anyway, humans are the only animal that can run for a distance of 30 miles, can run 30 miles an hour, and can also swim 30 miles. We're the only animal that can do all those things. And I think that is why sports continue to get to a point where there was a time where I was saying we should widen the NFL field because guys are just too big, too strong, too fast. And they need more space to be able to, show their athletic talents. I don't know if I necessarily still agree with that. But at the same time, I do think that we will see, we see the basketball on the female side it's the distance between it and the male game is closer than it's ever been, just as far as just aesthetics and looks. And it's still very different size, athletic ability, all those things. But skill wise, it's getting real close. It's getting real close. I realize that I've paid more attention to it this year because of the controversy and the drama. Now I've seen some better basketball because of that, but I'm sure that's happening for a lot of people. And at the end of the day, that's a good thing for the W. Hopefully they can just sprinkle in a little bit of drama, but also keep the main thing, which is hoop. The SEC and the Big Ten have now taken the measure to ban pros. You had Daquan Harris, who was in college football last year, goes undrafted free agent route, doesn't make the team, now wants to go back, was with Lane Kiffin and then wanted to go back and reunite with Lane Kiffin, only this time in LSU, no longer Ole Miss. And I think there's a couple things to take from this. First and foremost, how weak is the NCAA? I mean, now we've seen multiple times when it goes back to the Texas Tech situation, when it goes to now the Big Ten and the SEC having to take these measures to stop players from coming from the pro ranks back into the college ranks. The conferences have to do it because the governing body that is the NCAA, they seem not to be able to govern.
No, they can't. They're absolutely paralyzed. They need collective bargaining. They need, a federal collective bargaining agreement, just like, the the main sports have, so to speak, like every league does. They clearly need that.
Yeah, but if I'm a conference, why do I agree with that? If I'm a conference, I want to be able to operate on my own. I don't want to have this governing. But like now that the conferences have been able to have this power, they're not going to give away any of their power.
Nor should they at this point. But, that's kind of where things need to head just to get some degree of guardrails on this thing, because it really is out of control. So not only did the SEC and Big Ten agree on that, the Sun Belt also made the same ruling. Notre Dame is going to fall in line with the Big Ten and the SEC as well. That was announced, and it sounds like the Big 12 is probably going to follow suit too. I think
the Sun Belt is hilarious.
Yeah, I know. The first G5, right?
We really.
I think what needs to happen on the football side is, how the NBA draft process, you can declare for the draft, and you can go through the combine, you can go through the pro day, and then you have that deadline whether to stay in the draft or go back. They don't have that in the NFL, and I think that's something they should add. I think it would make things a lot easier. You wouldn't see as many guys having to do that. So if you had a drop dead date of when to come back or go, or, hey, I go through the combine, you have a 6th-round grade. If you go back, you might be a 2nd or 3rd rounder next year. Okay, I have all the means to go back to school, so I'm going to go back to school. Instead of, I'm going to take this gamble, stay in, I go undrafted, I don't make the camp. Oh, I want to go back to college now. No. Like, once you go and take that gamble and decide to go, you should be stuck and you're in. Like, that's your own choice.
I'm with you. I mean, come on, man. It's just, I don't know if I've seen anybody give the argument that like, nah, man, they should be able to go back down to college and get that money. Like, cause that's what the play is. That's the whole reason. It's not like, oh my God, I really love football, I'm not going to be able to play in the NFL. Cause if you're that close, you're on a practice team, you're trying to make it, but you're making $250,000 a year. Nah, it's more than that. It's probably like $500,000 a year, I bet, is what like the minimum NFL salary is, somewhere around there. Or $350,000 if you're on the actual roster. If you're on a practice squad, I don't know exactly what that number is. But then if you get a big time, top 20 college team, they're like, bro, we'll give you 1.5. Let's go. You can go play back in college right now and you're still going to be one of them ones, and now you get to come back next year in the draft. Why wouldn't a player do that if they don't make a team coming out of camp?
League minimum salary in the NFL is $885,000.
Okay. Clara, yesterday's price is not today's price. Listen, I get it. If somebody says I'll give you 1.5 and you can go back and you can play in college, like why wouldn't you do it if you were allowed to? But it's not. It's just not the spirit of what we're doing here. I mean, okay, players are getting paid in college. That's one thing. You know, guys can transfer. That's another thing. Guys being able to just go and be there. There has to still be some difference between being a professional and being a collegiate athlete when it comes to status. And yes, they should get paid. And I know that that technically does make them a professional. But them going and dipping their toe and going through an entire camp in the pros and then deciding to come back, absolutely not. We've seen lots of, rumors of people doing that. And some people have successfully done that. There's all these different things about, oh, well, they had a COVID year. So then why, there's all these different, okay, listen, that was long enough ago that stop it. No. If you play in the pros, you go through a training camp, you go through practices, like you said, just like there should be that little thing where, you can't now just go back and play college next year. No, I don't think nobody likes that. Nobody agrees with that. And even less Cleveland Browns fans agree with Deshaun Watson being named the starter over Shedeur Sanders. This is after Watson came out and basically said, yo, y'all disrespecting me and booing me. I get more cheers on the road. Yo, man, there's a couple things about this that are funny to me. First and foremost, God, man, I don't know what it is that Shedeur doesn't practice. This is new year, new coach. What we see on the field, he seems like he's the best guy. He's Deion Sanders' son, for Christ's sake. And he's, it just seems like, especially with a young team, you have 3 first-round picks next year. What do you get out of trotting out Deshaun Watson? I don't get it. What do you get out of that as a team? I mean, the only argument you can make is that you think he's the best right now. You don't want to lose your locker room by not playing the guy who's the best. But in the games, Shedeur hasn't been great. He's been better than Deshaun Watson. And then Deshaun Watson has the performance that he had last week. And then he comes out and talks crazy in the interview afterwards. And this is one thing that I think is important to say. Okay, so you have a Sherman post game where it's right after the game, like the clock's just hit 0, they just whistled the game dead, and then right after that, somebody's coming up to you and they're talking to you. That's one thing. Then you have Deshaun Watson, who's in the post game and in the presser. I'm sorry, man. You don't get to, after having a whole post-game talk, chat, get your pads off, shower, cleaned up, put your shit on, put your watch on, put your chain on, everything, and then come out there and talk crazy. Because the whole thing about the fans booing him and all this, Deshaun, from your conduct off the field to your play on the field to your lack of being on the field, you deserve boos. Boo this man. Come on. I'm sorry. You deserve some boos. And for you to act as if they're somehow disrespecting you, fans, booing is not disrespect. If you were their franchise quarterback who played for them and been great, and, as you were getting carted off the field, they were booing you, that's disrespectful. Other than that, they pay for their tickets. They come to watch one of the most pathetic franchises in all of sports. I'm a Jets fan. The Jets are so much better just as far as their perception than the Browns. And then the Browns go out and they give out the worst contract in the history of sports. That's not hyperbolic for me to say that. It's not an exaggeration. It is the worst contract in the history of sports. in the sport where nobody gives out guaranteed money, they gave a fully guaranteed contract to a guy who was oft injured and even more often in trouble for the negotiations and the happenings when he gets a massage. Bruh. I don't understand his reaction. It's ridiculous.
Speaking of the worst things of all time, that may have been the worst press conference of all time. Like, that was egregiously
Really
and
bad.
grossly mishandled.
Really
Like,
bad.
you can say what you want about the Browns. Like, obviously, they were pathetic, more about franchise. That fan base is great. That fan base cares as much as anybody.
Word.
So you're gonna take shots at a fan base. Go take shots at somebody else, not the dog pound.
Yeah.
The Browns are a phenomenal fan base. So
What'd you say? Did you say the dog house?
No, dog pound. That's
okay, it's a dog pound. I know. Trust me. I know. I got some roots.
The Browns.
I thought that I hate to say how excited I was at the proposition of possibly catching you saying something wrong about sports.
It'll happen. I missed a couple on Geosports today. Huh?
Yeah, you put in the chat, bro. You got a fucking 984. Are you kidding me? Like I don't think I think my highest score.
With those like just near misses and getting like a 99. Oh, so.
Bro, there's times for you 9 miles off, man. Shout out to Geosports, yo. Geosports, man. Fucking yo.
That game rules.
First of all, it's so much fun. If you don't know what Geosports is, it's geosports.com, or if you just search
Geosports.app.
Okay, geosports.app, and you get to go on there. They ask you questions. You have to, go on and the question is always a location. So you have to go onto the app and, move around and find exactly where the location is and tap it. And then you get within a certain distance and you get somewhere between 0 and 100 points. And every round as it progresses are worth more points. Yeah, exactly. There you go. It's close to the pin. But it's mad fun. You used to have to just if you accidentally tapped, it would be like that's your place, and you'd like end up in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean while you were traveling over to like Great Britain or some shit. But then they put in the option to be able to have a thing where you can confirm before. I asked for that in the chat like a week before it happened, and then it happened like a week later. And that made things a whole lot better. But I've learned to I zoom all the way down to like, especially like if it's a city, I zoom all the way down to where I can see the topography of like that's that's buildings and shit there. Okay, go ahead and get there. My highest score ever is like a 970 something. You get upset when you get a 984. And you haven't gotten a hundo yet, have you?
I've not gotten a perfect score. Pat and Danny have gotten perfect scores in our group. I've gotten to 990. I think 993 was my highest.
And Danny is a contributor.
Yeah, he had a few.
That's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive for sure. Yo, Geo Sports, man, holla at your boy, man. Sponsor the show. We're avid users of it, and I don't think anybody on any podcast has ever talked about it more than we just did just now.
I did want to go back to Deshaun though, real quick.
What's up?
That Deshaun has that Shedeur doesn't is the Browns are just trying to justify the contract. They're trying to do whatever they can to still justify how horrendous the contract was and hope they can squeeze one last little drip out. But the fact is, there's no way. There's nothing to justify. But
and there's nothing he could do. Idiot. There's nothing he could do. Like, I mean, honestly, like, other than him, like, having an MVP caliber season and leading them to the playoffs, which no Browns fan. No, Deshaun Watson's mom don't believe that shit's going to happen.
Yeah, the Browns go 4-13. You might as well give him the MVP if he wins 4 games at this point. That would be an MVP caliber season for Deshaun Watson right now. But it's going to be a short leash for him.
Oh, he won't. He's not going to start game 3.
No, I agree. I think we'll be seeing Shedeur well before we know it.
Yeah, it's 2 games on the road to start the season, and then he stinks up the joint. And then I honestly think the Cleveland coaching staff and or front office, their thought process is that it's easier to go from Deshaun to Shedeur than it is from Shedeur to Deshaun. If we bring out Deshaun, we have him stink up the joint for a couple weeks in a row. On the road, we get waxed. And then, if we bring in Shedeur and he's not playing well, people aren't going to be clamoring to bring back Deshaun. It's just going to be like, yo, this is what it is. I honestly think that that's the reason that they're doing it. Whatever the case may be, it's a shit show over there. Free Shedeur, man. Get him the fuck up out of that. They got to get him the fuck up out of that franchise.
You are right, though, in that matter. It very much is easier to transition younger than it is to transition older.
Yeah. For sure.
So that does make sense, even though Deshaun should not be starting. You just got to ride it out with Shedeur, in my opinion.
I've been screaming for Shedeur since last season. To me, it's always been the thing. It makes the most sense. It's the most upside. And I'm going to give Shedeur an entire season this year to make sure that I don't have something. Because next year, I have 3 first-round picks and a quarterback-heavy draft. Come on, man. It's too easy. It makes too much sense. Speaking of football, the New York Jets. So they wrap up training camp. I don't understand. What does it mean when they say that training camp is wrapped up today, but yet the Jets play on Friday and then they have 2 weeks before their first game? So in between that game on Friday and those 2 weeks, that's not training camp? I mean, I don't know.
It confuses me too. It makes zero sense. I guess, I have no idea what it means, especially because they're not making final cuts for like 2 weeks.
No, I think by Sunday they have to get down to the 53 man, I believe. I'm not sure about that. Look it up. I'm almost sure I read that earlier because I was trying to understand this whole final practice thing, but I still don't. Whatever the case may be, Jets versus Giants, the Snoopy Bowl, as they like to call it, is always the last game of the preseason. I know they play every preseason. I'm not sure if it's always the last game, but I think it is. In the previous game, the Jets played the Steelers, and Geno lit it up. 1 drive, 7 for 7. I think it was 65 yards. Tutty, looked great. Looked fantastic. If Geno can stay upright and Geno can cook, and Frank Reich, I think, is a huge, huge part of that, because one thing that I noticed immediately, this is something that has driven me fucking nuts about the Jets these last few years, is the fact that they were at least doing some sort of like misdirection where they were trying to get the defense going one way and did some shit the other way. And, we saw it in that first game with the handoff to Braylon Edwards. That was the touchdown. We saw it in this game where Geno rolls out, he play actions to the right. He rolls out left, makes the jump pass over the defenders. We got a wide open touchdown for the tight end. It wasn't Mason Taylor. It was the other dude. I forget his name right now. Because it wasn't Sadiq, because he's still on the shelf, which is probably the thing that's the most scary right now. That, along with Brees, pulling his groin, but they say that that's not that big of a deal. A groin sounds like something that could definitely linger. That makes me very nervous. But Geno looks competent. Frank Reich looks like he actually has an idea of what he's doing. Between Engstrand and Hackett, I mean, the Jets have had some of the worst offensive coordinators you can have here in these last few years. And, you got Klubnik looking poised. I heard Frank Reich talk about how poised he was. He said his favorite play that he's seen from him all camp is in the last game. At one point, he made a play where he went to his third progression and with his feet in the end zone. And he said, that type of poise out of a rookie is good. You see, that's one thing you see out of Klubnik. There's some people say that he holds onto the ball a little bit too long. He looks like he doesn't get happy feet when the rush gets around him. Now, some of that has to do with the fact that he's got a decent amount of first-team reps with an offensive line that was together all of last season, and now is one of the strengths as a unit for this Jets team. And that's, as the offensive line goes, the Jets go. Omar Cooper Jr., I was a little bit nervous a few weeks ago when I'm starting to hear stuff about him possibly being the third or fourth receiver. You take a receiver at the end of the first round, you really hope he's going to be at least your number 2. Especially when, the combination is not anybody that anybody has said is a great receiver. I mean, Adonai Mitchell, Isaiah Williams, good, but or it's Isaiah Davis or Williams. I always get the two mixed up. But you getting a little bit of, feeling a little bit of hope around the Jets, which this is the time for hope, for sure. But we have seen some competence in the preseason. There's been years recently where in the preseason it just looked like, do we what the fuck are we doing? Did we practice this week? Was any type of game planning or, you felt that way, not just throughout the season, but even in preseason in these last few years. And the Jets team does seem a little bit more competent this year. You put something in the show notes earlier about Aaron Glenn acknowledging how he spoke to the to the media last year. I looked for that while I was watching the Mets game. I wasn't able to find it. Fill me in.
Yeah, so this actually happened really during our break. He acknowledged that he was really terse with the media last year, and he basically, just took full accountability for it. He's like, I should not be projecting what's been going on in our world onto you guys. It's something I had to get better at, and I'm trying to get better at this year. So it was something, just a really, it's a small thing, but I respect the shit out of it.
I don't know how I missed this. As much as Jet shit is on my feed and Twitter and whatnot, and as much as I try to keep up with what's going on with them, I just totally missed this, and I actually think it's a huge step for him, because it's something that I've talked about, whether it be when he did this to me with my dad, or on this podcast. Like, I've really talked about this quite a bit. The fact that, like, bruh, he's been just way too coarse with the media, and how that shit, gets real old real quick if you're not fucking Bill Belichick. Like, if you're not really good, like, that shit don't it grows old in no time. And especially with this market, why you would want that extra attention. Now, Salah was
I have
great
the
with the
exact
media.
quote here. I have the exact quote. So he was talking to Jonathan Jones of The Athletic, former NFL and CBS insider. He goes, another mistake because I came in and I was already pissed at something else, had nothing to do with the media. And then I started to think, man, I take it out on these guys and gals, and for what? They had nothing to do with this here. That was a mistake.
Okay. And he was talking about just in general last year. He wasn't talking about like a particular incident.
Correct. Just in general.
Okay.
I really respect that for him. That's quite a self-reflection. So I'm looking forward to seeing a little change there here too.
That's huge. That's huge for AG. That's huge for him because it's something that I have noticed and often criticized. And like I said, my pops like, it's no big deal, whatever. Doesn't matter. Nothing matters if he wins. But I just always didn't think it needed the heat. And I realized that, like, you don't have to be the most chummy with these people in the media, but if you're gonna just go in that route with the New York media, I think it's a dangerous game personally. Shout to him for recognizing it and speaking up and saying, you know what, I fucked up. That's every man as they grow up, man. If they don't fucking realize that there's gonna be some times where you're gonna have to be like, yo, my bad, I fucked up, then you're not really a man just yet. What do we got here? I got this out of order because I had Mets. Okay, so the Knicks schedule. I know that we have a lot of back-to-backs. We have a lot of 3 games in 4 nights. Obviously, a lot of national TV games. We max out on that. Other than that, I know I've seen a lot of people as far as like on Knicks Twitter that have been complaining about the fact that the Knicks have just like one of the toughest schedules. Baum, talk to me, man. Do you have any particulars on that?
Yeah, I got a few things here. So the toughest stretch for the Knicks is, according to The Athletic, might actually be the first few games of the year. They deal with the Sixers twice, once at the Garden, obviously on banner night, and then they go and see them on the road not too long after that. They get Boston, Orlando, and Detroit, all in those first 6 games, and they get one with the Bulls. The Bulls aren't good. They made some interesting moves this offseason, but I'm not ready to throw any respect on their name quite yet, is what I'll say. The Knicks do have 13 back-to-backs. 9 road games in December is pretty crazy. But they also have multiple instances. They have 13 instances this year where they have at least 2 days between games. So they'll have a little bit of chances to catch their breath and reset. But December could be interesting going back to that month, depending on what happens in the in-season tournament.
Yeah. You know, they said shit like that last year when we went ahead and won the in-season tournament, and how that scheduling wise after, you know, that then we immediately had like it was I forget exactly the details, but guess what? I'm always one to look at ways that the NBA is, you know, trying to fuck us in some way, or especially after that performance that we saw by the NBA and their officials in last year's finals. So guess what? We already know what it is. We know the fix is in. We know they don't like us. They don't like Dolan. They don't like our connection specifically with Dolan to the commander-in-chief. But guess what? It don't matter. I don't give a fuck what they do as far as scheduling, as far as officiating, or whatever the NBA. The NBA tried their best to extend the playoffs last year, and guess what? They couldn't do it. They did everything they possibly could. They let Wembanyama get away with 3 different obvious, blatant, flagrant fouls. One of them arguably a flagrant 2. Shit, 2 of them arguably flagrant 2s. They looked at Karl Anthony Towns and his dominance of Wembanyama in games 1 and 2 and said, we got to get this guy in foul trouble immediately. Every single game. Everything that could even be considered a foul, blow that shit. They challenge it, even though it looks very clear. We can see what it is. We didn't see that. Foul on Towns. Get him out of there. Knicks in 5. So I don't give a fuck what they do. Doesn't matter. Knicks running it back next year. Fuck the bullshit. I'm tired of people talking about, the same people who were talking about the fact that this title run, the Knicks got so lucky, everything went their way. Those are the same people who picked against the Knicks in every single round. Those are the same people that were talking about Philly. We swept Philly last year. Philly ain't even going to be that nice this year. The Heat going to be better than Philly. Watch. And ain't none of them. Cleveland, they got a little bit better, but they still got James Harden. You want to give him 3 years, 90-something mil, and you think that he's going to get you to the promised land, that Donovan Mitchell's going to get you to the promised land when they've never been able to do it before? When we swept their ass out the gym last year, Brunson has owned Donovan his entire career. He had Harden on skates. Knicks in 4 by an astronomical number. The best playoff run that you've ever seen. Best point differential. Plus 283. They go 16-3. Go 15-1. Come on, man. What we talking about? Knicks running that shit back. You think JB right now ain't talking about and ain't talking to his teammates about the fact that they still hating on us? They still got this to say. You know he's the type of person. He knows all the quotes. He knows everything that everybody's ever said. You know that because of the references he made this year after he won it. And he's going to have us right next year. in the right mindset. You get another OG jump in offensive production, in offensive ability and efficiency, like we've already seen him do every year since he's been a Knick. You get Towns and you get Mikal Bridges playing loose and playing free, playing like champions. Dare I say a championship whistle for Towns and for Jalen Brunson? Josh Hart, more confidence. Shooting threes with more confidence, a little bit more volume. Hopefully boxing out at the end of games. You got a guy like Mo Diawara making a jump. You got Mike Brown doing shit we never seen before. Cat at the top making the, running shit. Out here with the Joker type shit. Cat gonna look like a big Magic next year. We winning the chip again. We running this shit back, man. Because y'all disrespecting us, and that's why JB ain't having this shit, and that's why he's coming for y'all motherfuckers, and we running this shit back next year. Give a fuck about no motherfucking schedule. We got to play 82, maybe 83 because we win the cup, and then we got to win 16. We already shown we can do all that shit. Let's go do it again. Yo, what's up with so all right, we talked about Mark Walter, all the shit that's going on with that. But then, first of all, Shams, the luster has worn off a little bit on you, bud. Shams done had a couple fuck-ups here recently, and people, it seems like people love, like, reveling in his fuck-up. Like, he's no Woj. Like, I don't understand why Shams gets some of the hate he does. Like, people, like, really like it when he fucks up, which, I think is kind of funny. Shams don't give a fuck. He getting paid, and he's still the hype beast when it comes to the scoops. But,
yeah, he's still a cheap newspaper, and I'm the personal hype beast at this point, just by award stats. We get more on that in a minute. But no, yeah, I guess he's had some issues with reporting on the Lakers, the Clippers. ESPN has defended him, saying they stand by his reporting. This is what is going on down in Los Angeles right now is what I want to know.
Good point. Yeah, and okay, so you got Jeannie Buss saying, nah, not so fast. Everybody in the Lakers is trying to sell the team. And the Lakers siblings, the 5 out of the 6 of them who are still minority owners, they are saying that they don't want to that they want to sell, but then Jeannie, it's always been Jeannie has been the one that has been
correct.
The
She's
basketball
been the governor
person
involved, but she became a minority owner once Mark Walter bought the team. So they had between them the remaining 17.4%. Jeannie has definitely had some run-ins with her siblings over the years since she took over. Like, she did fire one of her brothers. I can't remember exactly which one. But do you remember seeing the docuseries on Hulu about the Lakers?
Nah, never saw it.
It was so good. It was a couple years ago, and it was honestly it's a must watch.
Wait, are you're talking about the shit that was like on what's his name? That
was
on
no, not the Jerry West one, not the Winning Time one, like the real like the history of the Lakers when Dr. Jerry Buss took over the team. No, it's honestly really good. There's a lot of factual information in there. It goes inside the drama of the Buss family. There's a lot of important stuff in there. It's definitely a recommended watch.
Fuck them. I'm waiting for Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller's documentary about the Knicks run. That's what I'm waiting for.
Oh, for sure. But I'm just saying, in terms of what's going on here, it's just not a surprise because you watch that show.
Word.
That's the context of this particular situation. So I'm not surprised that the other 5 wanted to try and overthrow Jeannie, and now Jeannie's not having it.
Yo, at the end of the day, the other 5, they don't care about basketball as much as she does. That's just, crystal clear. She was always the one, right there next to her father, learning, being involved with the team. For years, for as long as I can remember, really. Jeannie Buss has always been involved. And the other ones, they're not that into it, and they trying to get that paper. They're like, yo, let me get that check.
Yeah, we cash that out.
But my thing is this, is that y'all got to have enough money. I mean, Jerry Buss, I would think beyond even the Lakers, made sure all his kids were good when he left this earth. But I don't know. I don't know the details. It's all interesting. What it ends up happening when it comes to Mark Walter and the shady dealings, the the cozying up to the president, and then now giving up this team to the president's family, basically.
Yep.
And whether or not his SEC issues now go away, whether or not he's forced to trade the Dodgers, and then the fallout that can happen with Ohtani and all that, that does happen, it's all very interesting. It'll make for interesting theater here as it all plays out.
Yeah, it's like Mark Walter's the sun, and there's like, except instead of like 9 planets, there's like 20 planets revolving around it right now, or like 20 things just kind of hanging in the air, and you're trying to figure out which one is which and which one needs what, and what could the impact be on anything. It's pretty unprecedented. I have a question for you. What do you think is more egregious, this whole situation or the 2017 Astros?
Oh, the Astros, it's not even close. And honestly, I've seen people in both our group chat. I just didn't have time to respond to it. And I've another things like, listen, honestly, truthfully, if the Mets had just like done some like shady shit as far as like, something to be able to sign more talent and more players, and it got me back-to-back World Series, there's not one part of me that would be like, man, those are kind of tainted now or anything. Like, fuck that. I'd let Mets start doing some shady shit. Figure it out. Do whatever the fuck you got to do to win.
Don't Stevie's credit, man. He's just throwing out the dough. He's not deferring any money. He's got it, and he is showing it out.
Sure. But somehow, some way, the way that listen, me too. Okay, yes, all that said. Other than hiring David Stearns, he's done a great job. But as far as what the Dodgers have done these last couple of years, and now we're figuring out why and how they could do what they've been able to do, because it just seems like, what the fuck, like, how do they have there's the deferred money, but still it's just like they have all the prospects, they have all the money, like how are they able to operate like this, and then like a team like the Mets doesn't even seem like they can do that. I've had a hard time trying to understand that, yet now we're starting to understand, and maybe it was all fucking a Ponzi scheme, and it's all gonna blow up in their face, and I don't even know exactly what that means, how it quote unquote blows up in their face. Obviously, the whole Ohtani being able to leave if Walter stops, gives up his ownership, that is going to be super interesting. I never even heard of anything like that before, where a player has a clause like that. It's very, very interesting.
Or Andrew Friedman leaves too as POV.
Right.
So yeah, there's 2 different clauses there for Ohtani. Do I think he would leave? Probably. I mean, that team's so loaded.
Listen, but I don't know exactly what this is all going to mean as far as like how they're able to pay people moving forward. Especially, I mean, like, if new ownership comes in. Okay, do I think that the new ownership that's come in is going to operate like fans, or they're going to want to like really try to turn a profit? I mean, just knowing them and the people they associate with, that kind of seems like that's probably how they're going to turn things. And if that's the case, there's going to be a fucking fire sale.
Good.
And
I would love nothing more to see it all go crashing and burning for that.
Of course.
But what is interesting, like the Padres just got new owners. They just introduced their new owners yesterday. They sold for about $4 billion, so $3.9 billion to be exact. And their owners came in and they were like, "We wouldn't have gotten in here if we didn't think this team could win a World Series." So it seems like they're
no owner doesn't say that. Every owner says that.
Yeah, but we'll see.
There's nothing else to say when you're an owner other than that when you first get there. I just think that how this plays out will be fascinating, and comparing it to like figuring out a way to cheat the game on the field, as compared to giving yourself a competitive edge in how you operate, are 2 totally different things. I don't even think they're remotely comparable. And I'm also a person who says, listen, what the Astros did it's just above that line to me because you're using some technology. If you had a person who was kind of just like spotting and then somehow signaling to I think stealing signs in baseball is totally fine. Now you have
The pitch com.
right. You get the pitch com,
Yeah,
so that takes away.
but
I actually
stealing
don't like the
actual
pitch
signs,
com.
stealing signs is 100% without the technology. It's 100% part of the game. Like, we saw the incident last night in Phoenix with, you had the third base coach of the Cubs, Quentin Berry, looked like he was peering in and, picking some signs. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, I'm
It's
not
part of
mad
his
at it.
job, isn't it?
I'm not mad at it. Get better when it comes to your signs.
Yeah, use your pitch com if you don't like it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Merrill Kelly. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Be
I
more
don't
discreet
understand
or
why
something.
anybody wouldn't use a pitch com in today's. I mean, like I've seen, you can't even say like it didn't work because I've seen guys have it not work and they come and they fucking stop the whole game, take forever to fix that shit up.
Yeah,
So,
even get a disengagement and a mouth visit out of it.
Yeah, so I don't get that. I don't get that why you wouldn't do that. And also, I listen. I think what the Astros did was definitely above and beyond. But if I was an Astros fan, I would still feel great about those
I'm always going to say
championships.
this about that series, too. Everybody forgets the Astros had to win some games on the road. They did not have home field advantage in that series.
Yep.
Like, they still had to go win multiple games at Dodger Stadium where they did not have that technological advantage.
And they were the best team in baseball over the span of a couple years.
Yeah.
Over a few years. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were a really, really good team over a few years. This wasn't some, like, flash in the pan bullshit. And, I mean, I put that post the other day in one of our chats. That's Carlos Delgado's numbers when he was
I remember that.
353, 30 home runs, 80 something ribbies at the All-Star break.
That was insane.
He didn't start in the All-Star game. He didn't start.
That era was crazy.
So, baseball, everybody's always trying to get ahead. It's always been that way.
I mean, now you see with the analytics. It's just a cleaner way of trying to get ahead. It's annoying, but it's clean.
Yeah, much cleaner. That's different. That's not, that's just.
I'm saying it's just a way of getting ahead, but it's a much cleaner operation. It's just a little annoying for traditionalists.
Yeah, it's got its place. The whole Jaden Daniels and like whether or not guys should be able to wear his jersey, I just don't care that much. I get it. I get why it's absurd. I understand there's a whole lot of the guys who've had their jersey worn immediately after. I think that honestly, that's the thing that got the headline, but you're really burying the lead, and it's much more the issue was them continuing to use his name and likeness for a while after he left. And if you know about him and his mom and everything like that, like she's serious about him and his business and what goes on with him, and she's on top of that shit. So, but I also get I get being a player and like, I just won a Heisman here, and a couple years later, like a defensive player is wearing my jersey number. I get being a little bit annoyed by that, but it's not something that if I were him, I'd make a big deal about. I don't even know how much of a big deal he actually made about that. It more has to do with the whole name and likeness thing. From what I really looked into.
With him, like he didn't make a CFP. Won the Heisman, didn't make a CFP. Burrow won a Natty there, and they haven't used his number since. And he's one of the only couple guys, the last 10 years who have won a Heisman whose number hasn't been recirculated, anytime recently. Burrow did a little bit more than JD5 in my opinion. So I would say that's fair. The other thing with LSU too, and that school in particular, there's that one number 7, that they pass down to its best defensive back every single year. So I feel like, getting that number or being able to wear, that being the next guy to wear the number is actually pretty sick. For that school.
For number 7, but that doesn't have to do anything with Jaden Daniels. It's 5.
Yeah, it could be. It could be eventually down the road. I don't know. But I always thought that was pretty cool at LSU. So maybe it's a new thing that it could be a thing, down the road. So if I were him, I would just.
Yeah, but his number didn't give it to a quarterback. It got given to a defensive player.
That's right. It did.
So that's not even no, none of that. No, listen, that whole 7 thing with the D-back's true, and that's D-back you, no doubt. I get it. That thing's cool. Yes. I like that. Different teams have stuff like they do that. Syracuse with the number 44 across all their sports. It's very important. You have to be like great to wear 44 at Syracuse no matter what the sport is, and that goes back to Jim Brown. And then also I could think of like the Cowboys with 88 and the receivers.
Yeah.
There's a couple other ones, and but Michael Irvin has an interesting take on that as far as like why. Have you ever heard him talk about why he likes people wearing 88?
No.
He says because it keeps him relevant in the conversation and it continues to elevate him, because if CeeDee Lamb has a ball that hits him in the hands and he doesn't catch it, fans are immediately going to be like, see, Michael Irvin never would have dropped that pass.
I like that.
That's a pretty good take, right?
That's actually a really good take. Dude, I love that take. I love that take.
Yeah, shout out to Michael Irvin. Michael Irvin, he's one of my favorite like on-air people. And like, the way his whole shit went south at ESPN, thankful for him that he's been able to, through his own platform and through, being a constant guest on, he's on with Cam and Mace. He's fucking hilarious with them. And then he also does some shit with Shay and other people and whatnot. Like, he seems like he's been able to figure it out. But the shit that happened with him with ESPN, the way that he just so vehemently denied that this shit happened the way that they said initially, and then as we've seen it play out, he seems like he was telling the truth. Sometimes, man, when people come out here and they make these crazy claims and try to run your name through the mud like that, there's got to be some consequences and repercussions. She cost that motherfucker a whole lot of money.
Yeah, 100%. There should. I think Irvin's got enough energy for about 6 people.
Yeah. Well, why is that?
Yeah, it's a fun back in his day. If you ever read Boys Will Be Boys, you will know.
I just know that he played for the Hurricanes in the 80s and he played for the Cowboys in the early 90s, and at one point he had a place that was his that everybody hung out that was called the White House. We'll leave it at that.
Dude, yeah, Boys Will Be Boys, the book about the Dynasty Cowboys in the 90s, details a lot of Michael Irvin's off the field stuff. It was fantastic.
You're the only person that would read some shit like that, because
dude, it was great.
Like, you're a Niners fan. 90s Cowboys, the Niners is like fucking the biggest rivalry in the sport at that time.
It was pure hatred.
Like there's zero chance that I would read like a book about like the fucking the Indiana Pacers. Zero chance. Zero. None.
Yeah, but if they had interesting storylines, like let's just say they got into some of the stuff that Michael Irvin got into off the field, you'd be interested.
You can't pitch me on it. I know that that's what makes you is that it's a sports book, so you feel like you need to consume it. That's why we love you, buddy. But yeah, come on, let's be serious. Bayonne's run came to an end today. Bayonne, New Jersey captured the hearts of Garden Staters all over the world. You got your kid Mason Rincon hits the big walk-off to get them to the Little League World Series, or at least that final bracket or whatever. And they lose to an Iowa team, and then today they lost to an Ohio team. Look, okay, so watching those games, a couple things. First of all, shout out to Iowa. That kid Cooper Thiessen is a monster. That kid Anthony Johnson Jr. My man had swag. He had crazy control, was throwing just nasty breaking balls, hit an absolute tank job. Yeah, man, they're going to be tough to deal with. And the reason they're going to be tough to deal with is because they have 2 players like that. What you realize is that, and as somebody who coaches and is around a lot of little league softball and baseball due to my kids, every level, it's how many like dudes or dudettes do I have on my team, because you got a few people on the team that really carry everybody else, especially at the plate and especially on the mound. So when you look at the Little League World Series, those teams are all good enough that most of the people in the field can hold their own, okay? Because those teams are the all-star team from their respective leagues. When you take those Little League World Series, if you take them back to their home Little League, and you watch them play a regular game, there's some kids in the outfield that you're just praying the ball never gets hit to them. You know, if a ball gets hit their direction, we was probably going to be a home run. 13 or 12U at that age? Yeah, man. It's, you know, when I played 12U, you had some, you know, there was definitely some kids who could play. And some kids that were in the outfield that could play here and there, But like, you know, usually you got like 3 or 4 kids at the top of your lineup who got a chance, and then the rest of them, you're kind of hoping they get walked. But then you get the all-star team, and now you got the 2 best players from every team, or maybe 1 player from certain teams, and now all of a sudden, okay, this team, you can go out there, you can put out a 9 that can really do it. But then how many guys do you have that are just real menaces at the plate? You looked at that Bayonne team, and that kid Rincon, if you just looked at him next to his teammates, I mean, he was so much bigger than everybody. So much bigger than everybody. And as far as like doing real damage at the plate, he was, you know, the guy that you were hoping for to be able to deliver the big blow. And, you know, he had some tough games. That game he pitched, I thought he did a great job because he started off a little bit rough, but then he hung in there, gave him some good innings, only gave up 2 runs. You look at that, you know, team out of Iowa, and you got 2 kids who are absolute studs, and you got a few other kids who just offensively can, you know, have a chance to get a really big hit. And then that's what you see. It's one of the reasons why I don't like the way the world is set up, is because we're playing against the whichever team wins the U.S. ends up playing the team with the best from Japan. And I know Japan is way less population, all those things. I get it. But you're still at that point getting the best from all the little different leagues. So it's like the all-star team of the all-star team. Let me see the U.S., the true U.S. all-star team play against the all-star team from Japan and Dominican Republic and Korea and all these other places. But the Little League World Series is always entertaining. I got a little bit more into it this year because we had some Jersey involved. Today, I had basically the battle of my roots with Ohio versus New Jersey. But shout to Bayonne, man. Shout to those kids. And, you know, I thought that they represented themselves and they represented Jersey well. I got a worst people ever for you. I need you to be bringing me a worst people ever every once in a while, so I'm not always the bad guy.
I had a couple.
Okay.
I have a couple that we didn't get to, you know, in our last episode.
Well,
I know you.
I got a couple. So those, we're not going, you know, we're not going to shoot our load. Pause.
Yeah, exactly. We got a few in the clip.
Yeah, exactly. But for me, and if you're from the Northeast and you've ever left, you know this to be the case. But I'm going to particularly talk about, and I've dealt with this in other places. I dealt with it in Virginia for sure when I lived there for you know, several years, and I'm now dealing with it out here in Arizona. And it is any type of front of the house, whether that be secretary type or specifically cashiers, that just seem as if they have nothing to do that is under any sort of time constraint, and that everybody else should just be along for the ride. I mean, they take so fucking long to do everything out here. They will have a full-on conversation with the person in front of you, holding shit. They're not beeping anything. They're not boop, boop, none of that. They're just sitting there holding it, talking. I have, since I've lived here, one time had to say, hey, is there any way that you two could exchange numbers and carry this on later? Like, I have to go. Even if I'm not in a rush, I'm in a rush. I'm trying to get the fuck out this store. I'm trying to get wherever I'm trying to get. I'm trying to do whatever I got to do. I'm from New Jersey. Yo. We're always in a rush. And the fact that anybody, especially in a service situation, thinks that they should be able to finish what they're doing before they attend to you and get you out of there is ridiculous to me. I don't even, if you're, like if I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for like a cashier person, they stop and they like look at they'll stop and like look at their phone and some shit, and then sit there and then stop and come over and be like, all right, how can I help you? That's some bullshit. Yeah. Put all that shit down. Get to me right now. I gotta go.
Yeah,
Gotta go.
100%.
I should not be standing here waiting on you. You are getting paid to be here. I'm paying to be here. And people out here are so egregious with that shit. I've seen people straight up like finish a phone conversation like, okay, all right, that's okay. I totally understand. Yep, uh-huh. Oh, well, you take care. Yeah, I'll see you next week. Okay, all right, you take care. All right, bye. What can I do for you? That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah,
Yo,
like
you got
at
to
least
tell
like,
that
hey, I
person.
am so sorry about that. Would be very courteous, but even still, it's like,
Yeah, I don't even want to. Fuck you. Sorry. Hey, I'm at work. I gotta go. Hey, sir.
Yeah.
What can I do for you?
yeah, 100%. Trust me, I've tried to have. My mom was an ops manager for 30 years, and front of house secretary. I tried to have a conversation with her. If she didn't have the time, she shut my ass down. She's like, I gotta go. We're not dealing with this right now. We're not talking right now. I can call you back in an hour. That was, basically the extent of it. You and I were very blessed to have quite the front of house office manager in Zen Reach. Shout out our girl Kaylee.
Shout out to Kaylee.
Shout out to Kaylee. She was all business, but also still like one of the most fun people ever when, that time came away. She would come hang out with us and, obviously still does a number of fantasy sports leagues and talks to us all the time. So, I do agree that, people like that, especially like in, food and beverage, it is frustrating as hell.
To me, honestly, yeah, food and beverage, yes, but to me, it's more the convenience situation. Like if I'm at a gas station or if I'm at like a grocery store and you're the person who's checking me out, I probably just had to wait in a crazy long line. I probably just walked around, couldn't find the shit that I've like having a hard time finding stuff. Y'all just fucking rearranged the goddamn store, which is another one of my fucking things that just fucking infuriates me. They just rearranged the Walmart by me, and it fucking, bruh, there was one time where I was in there and nothing was where I hate it shit. I hate that shit. Yeah, the whole like I'm just going to take my time and I don't care if it's 10 seconds. No, fuck you. And there's some people who are going to be like, nah, man, oh, what, you can't wait 10 seconds? Like, why don't you slow down? But no, fuck that bullshit. I don't want to wait your 10 seconds while you tidy something up or fix something up. Motherfuckers will be like doing some shit where they're like, cleaning something up in the store or something like that. Not even cleaning up. It's not like a spill. Like they're doing some like side work type shit, like some shit that you got to do. They're unpacking this, whatever. And they'll fucking be in the, like, close to the end of it, and they'll go ahead and finish it off and take another 20 seconds before they come over and help you. Fuck that. Put that shit down. Get over here. Take care of me. Wait till you have some free time, till somebody else is working. You can say, hey, I'm not getting, I'm doing this. Whatever the case may be. Do not fucking have me standing there watch you finish a conversation, finish a task, finish a fucking sip of your Mountain Dew. I don't give a fuck. Come over here. Take care of me. Get me out of the store.
Yeah, there's pockets of time to get to the other stuff, right? You also have 2 breaks. You have 3 breaks throughout the course of a workday. In most states.
Listen. I don't even know exactly how many breaks you got. I don't know what the case may be.
I'm saying there's time.
If you're on break, then you're on break. If you're on break and you want to sit there and fucking stand there. And right by there, where and the line's mad long, and you're on your scheduled break, I don't give a fuck about that. I don't feel bad. It's the person who is actively working, who puts some shit aside, who's doing something other than, or who puts me aside as they do anything else other than get me the fuck out of this store. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. Yeah, it's really like I wish that they could all spend some time in New York and New Jersey. And so many people think that we're like New Yorkers in New Jersey. People from the East Coast are so like rude and aggressive. No, we just got somewhere to go. We got something to do.
You guys just try to keep it moving.
Just trying to keep it moving, man. Everybody could, learn and gain something from a little bit more keeping it moving in their life. And anybody thinking that, I should sit here and fucking, twiddle my thumbs when I'm just trying to pay for my shit, you out your motherfucking mind. Bomb, what else, man? You got anything else, man, before we get up out of here?
That's pretty much it. I mean, we covered quite a bit of ground from a week away since we last got back. We got next week. We should have some NFL rosters. Oh, I actually did forget. You were right. Roster cut day is Sunday for the NFL.
Occasionally, man, even a blind squirrel gets a nut. Pause. But yo, rest in peace, Dolly Parton.
Yeah, R.I.P.
Icon,
Legend.
pioneer, the realest of the real ones. It's your boy N.I.C. Peace.